You often talk about open-minded skepticism and the importance of assigning probabilities instead of absolute certainties to the information that we receive. In that light, I would like to ask you this. What is your level of certainty that we will survive death of our avatars?
I'd say my level of certainty of that probability is between a 0 and a 1, so we'd have to go 0.99999999999, something like that. Almost certain, but you never like to make anything a 1 or a 0 because there's always a possibility you might learn something new. But from my experiences both within consciousness and here, and chatting with dead people, serving as like a Walmart greeter, to the people that come into the transition reality, and all of that, that experience tells me that consciousness is immortal. Consciousness is forever. Consciousness is the source. The source doesn't die. The source is always the source. The larger consciousness system just is. It doesn't have to eat. It doesn't have to pee. It doesn't have any of those things that bodies have here under this evolution within this rule set. It doesn't have any of those. It is what's fundamental. So I guess that all comes out to almost certain. But I, just as kind of a rule of my own, I don't put certainty anywhere. Because as soon as you say it's 1, then that becomes indistinguishable from a belief. And I try to not believe anything. Anybody else would say, yes, that's what I believe. That's what's going to happen. I'm sure of it. Well, I could say all those things, but I just say that's 0.999999999 probability. You decide what's true and what's not true based on your experience. If you read it out of a book and it's not your experience, then you should be pretty skeptical. You should remain skeptical of those kinds of things. You have to experience things. Now, if you read it out of a book that 100,000 people have that experience, then maybe you'd say a 0.99 on that because lots of people have that experience. But still, not a 0.999999, just maybe a 0.9, because maybe all those people have the same belief and it's not really true what's going on. So I say remain skeptical of everything to some degree. And that includes this. I have sometimes people ask me a similar question, and basically they say, well, how do you know all this stuff you say is right? That it's really true, that you've just not been tricked and your mind's been playing tricks with you, and all of your adventures have been in your imagination, and none of this is really valid or true, How do you know that? And I always answer, well, I don't know that, But I've been careful enough to require evidence, and evidence from multiple directions and multiple sources over multiple times, that I don't come to conclusions easily. I'm a scientist. I need to be really, really convinced by what I call facts. Even if they're only my facts, I have to be convinced. And that I am, again, I'll just say 0.9999, that all of these experiences that I've had are just the way I tell them. The conclusions I've come to are the best conclusions that I could come to based on the information that I've had. I don't know everything. I haven't had all the information. There's other information I'm sure that I don't know about. I can just make that assumption. But I think there's been enough things that have provided evidence. Like I've been healing people for 60 years. I have a lot of evidence. It's not just evidence that somebody had a headache and when I worked on them, it went away. Well, that could happen anytime, but evidence, people who are on deathbed, already been given their rights, have 20 minutes left to live, and they get up the next day and go home. Things like that are evidential. So, when the odds are, 1,000,000 to 1, and you work on it to be that one, and it is, then that's evidential. It's not proof. I don't give that a one as proof, but it's evidence. And then you pile all the evidence together, and over 60 years of doing this, then, maybe 55 years of doing this, I've accumulated a whole lot of evidence. And to me, the evidence is strong, not weak evidence, not evidence, I think that's the way it was, or they sort of got better. It's not that kind of evidence. Yeah, a lot of times it's like that, but sometimes it's 1 in a million things happen. And they only happen right after you intervene. So in that case, maybe that was just good luck. But those kinds of things have happened to me, not just once or twice, but dozens of times. So in general, no, I'm not certain that all the things I say are the way I say them, but they're the best conclusions that can be drawn from the evidence and the information that I've got. I don't claim to be omniscient. I don't know everything. So, yes, you have to come to that conclusion on your own, based on your own experience. And the only way to have that experience is to get out there and do it, be it. Develop your intuitive side. Do the experiments. Use your intention. And after 55 years or so of doing that, you'll probably come to some conclusions about life and the way it works and how reality works. And that's the best that you can do. So I tell you what I think I know, and I can tell you that it's based on serious evidence, not just casual evidence, but that's the best that I can tell you. So always remain skeptical of everything.
And there's a difference between knowing something in your intellect and knowing it deep down in your being level. Was there a moment for you where that shift occurred regarding knowing that you survived the death of your avatar? Was there a specific moment that triggered that knowing deep down in your being level that you can remember, or was it more a gradual confidence, a confidence that grew in you gradually over the years as you experimented with going out of body, visiting other reality frames?
Yeah,
What created that shift?
as far as the shift in understanding that consciousness is immortal and that I am consciousness, not a physical body. The physical body is just a computed thing. Coming to that, was a long, slow process of trying to figure things out. I had lots of what I'd call facts from my experience, but trying to explain all those facts by one simple understanding took a long time, because I had facts about the physical world that I needed to understand as well. And I wanted the same explanation of the intuitive facts and the physical facts. All had to be one explanation, one understanding that explained, that understood all of those facts, because I knew there was a source, and then the source creates everything else. So it all has to be rational and logical from top to bottom. And that took me a long time to figure out. So when I got to the part that I was relatively certain that I was consciousness, not a human avatar, and that avatars were computed, then that breakthrough, that was kind of a breakthrough. A whole lot of the puzzle pieces fell into place. So I had all these various puzzle pieces. Well, I know this is a fact and that's a fact. It's like having a jigsaw puzzle, and you got all these pieces, and you fit some of them together here and there, but you still got a whole lot of them that just you've been trying to mix and match and stick things place, but they don't actually just ever go. And when I got to that understanding that I'm a piece of consciousness, that's my fundamental being, not a human being. That's a computed avatar. When I got there, suddenly all these puzzle pieces that I've been juggling for probably 20 years just all fell together and they logically made sense. I was able to put the puzzles together and say, oh, well, that's why this is this way, and that's why that's that way, and oh, this it just matches perfectly with that. And that. The time I was done, I had the whole jigsaw puzzle solved, and everything made sense. At that point, I was convinced because only the correct answer could make all the puzzle pieces fit. I had pieces of the answer, and these puzzle pieces would fit, and another piece of the answer, and those puzzle pieces would fit. But when I got to that, everything else came together and fit. And I had a lot of pieces that just, I couldn't fit them together very well. This seemed to be incompatible with that. But when I got to that, then everything else fell together. So because of that, I feel confident that that's the truth. Now I give it a 0.9999999, but it's not a 1. And it's the same reason that when I say that we're consciousness and our bodies are avatars, the probability of that being true, it's reflected in the number of paradoxes I can solve. So I've got 35, 40 things that were paradoxes. In other words, puzzle pieces that don't fit. That's a paradox. That's what a paradox is. It's a puzzle piece that, is a fact, there it is, but it just doesn't fit our theories and what we know and what we believe. It's a puzzle piece that doesn't fit the rest of the puzzle. Well, I've got near 40 of these paradoxes. They're mostly in physics, but some of them are in philosophy, some of them are in theology, some of them are in psychology, some of them are in sociology. They're all over the place, and there they go, fit right into the other, and it solves all of them. Now, if I solved 2 or 3 or 4, but the rest remained iffy, then I'd say, no, you don't have the right answer yet. You don't have a right answer until your answer makes all the puzzle pieces fit. And I have not found another puzzle piece that doesn't fit. Been looking for it now for over a decade. And every time somebody says, well, here's one that doesn't fit, well, I find out it does too fit. It fits right in. So that's been my experience. Now, you can't make all these puzzle pieces fit with the wrong answer. That's like 1 in a billion or 1 in 100 million or something, that you just get so close to the right answer, but not quite the right answer. So all these fit, but there really are some other puzzle pieces someplace that don't fit. Well, that's a possibility. And I don't say I have the answer, but I got a damn good answer, because all the puzzle pieces that I've ever run into do fit. So that's the power of that idea, is that it solves problems. It gives answers that are logical, straightforward, elegant, simple, not hugely complex answers, but very simple, straightforward answers as to why all these puzzles exist. And that, to me, tells me that I'm right or close to being right, because there may be other puzzle pieces that don't fit, and my models may have to be expanded, or maybe this part taken away and a part added. I don't know. I don't pretend to know everything that's going to become known for the rest of eternity. That would be rather arrogant to think you knew that much. But it fits all the puzzle pieces that I have. That gives me confidence that it's probably correct.
Right.
Or mostly correct in any case.
Yeah, that's also the way I developed confidence in the model that you came up with, because when I found it, I was like, okay, that's a model that explains a lot. But then I would study it and I would find these things where I was like, I'm not sure how those two things go together. And I would come up with these little paradoxes, and then I would ask them to you. I would say like, yeah, well, how do you reconcile these two things? And always you would instantly like just give me the solution which I spent weeks thinking about it and I couldn't find it. And just in an instant, you present me with a solution, and it's like, oh yeah, now that makes sense. And that gives me such confidence because you wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't have a model that actually worked, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I actually went through, I completely understand the process that you're describing, and I kind of went through it myself. It's like I'm constantly looking for puzzle pieces that might not fit. And every once in a while, I find one which seems to not fit. But then when I discuss it with you, you always find a way very quickly to make it fit again. So
Mm-hmm.
that gives me a lot of confidence in your
Yeah.
model as well.
Yeah. Well, we've had a lot of these talks. This isn't the first talk we've had. You've been asking me these questions, the discrepancies that you come across, and I love it. That's good. I really enjoy it because I'm also very anxious to find discrepancies,
Mm.
things, and see if my model needs to be expanded or some other piece needs to be added to it or some piece just doesn't work. So I'm always very interested in finding those things out myself. That's why I've always enjoyed your talks. You're a very smart guy, and you see things that don't seem to fit together, and mostly that is a perspective problem. You don't quite see the biggest picture. You're looking at them from a picture that's a little smaller than the big picture. And if you have a smaller picture, a lot of things look like they don't fit. But when you have a bigger picture, when you see the bigger picture, they just fit in there really nicely. You know,
Yes.
it makes sense. So that's the problem. You see that, you find that bigger picture piece by piece. You find that bigger picture. So anyway, yeah, that's the same thing I'm doing, the same thing you're doing, and hopefully we'll help a lot of others with these discussions being published that have the same issues.
I hope so too. And I think so. I think we had a really good talk today, and you actually managed to solve quite a few more of those little discrepancies that I was struggling with. So that's good.
Would you like to see a better world? Get a better perspective. Balance your intellect with intuition and explore your true nature with the Exploring Consciousness and Everything Paranormal program with Thomas Campbell. In this program, you will have the benefit of Tom's vast experience and learn to access point consciousness, communicate with the larger consciousness system, remote view, use your natural ability to heal with intent, and explore reality in the out-of-body state. His famous binaural beats are included. Details are in the description below. Thank you.
I and MBT Events hope you like this video. If you do, then you should consider being a Patreon member, because Patreon members get early access to our special content. You will also be able to get your questions answered by me in special Q&A sessions, and most importantly, your contribution as a patron member will enable us to produce the content that you're looking for. So thank you.